Welcome, I'm Bill Wake. We're here working on a calculator that helps kilt makers, and we've got the basic calculator part done, and now we're working on the notion of designing the pleats, the folds in the fabric that make it look interesting, I guess, at least in back. Right, keyboard's a lot of range here. Okay, so we left off with our drawing, and I also realized like we never hooked it up to anything, so it's a little abstract at this point, but we'll let this thing slow down the video for a few minutes and get the picture that we have. I think we're kind of done with this one for the moment. I want to switch over to the calculation stuff. So how to make the form respond to changes. Yeah, we need to deal with that. How are we doing here? Okay. I guess, okay, yeah. So this is we still need some drawing work to do. We want to, these are called extension lines to show you how far apart something is, and then dimension lines for the line with the arrowheads that has a unit on it. Okay, so I think we are. Well, let's move over to the other thing. Oh, I guess let's look at the Pleat view too, just to kind of refresh us. Okay, so oh man, this is coming. All right. So what we have up here is these are inputs and outputs, and I don't think I've clarified even to myself which ones really are the inputs and outputs. But normally you come in with a measurement that's the hip measurement is sort of the fattest part of your rear end measured across, and you've done an earlier calculation to decide, you know, am I just splitting it half in front, half in back, or am I giving the back a little less, or how am I doing that? But at any rate, you come in with that calculation. Then the set width is also fixed, given you've chosen your tartan. Let's see, I got a picture here somewhere. Like this one. We chose our tartan. The set width is from one place to the identical place. So it's a repeat pattern. As far as I know, all the tartans repeat in some sense like this. And usually everything repeats. So I can pick the blue line, the green line, the red line, the yellow line. I get to pick what I want to do. And actually I can center on it. So this one centers on the yellow line. You can measure any of them, but when you're doing it, you center on it. Okay, and this one is, say, 6 inches across. I could bring in another one, and it's 8 inches across, repeat to repeat. So normally you make something for somebody, you're coming in, you've already got, 8 or 10 yards of tartan fabric. You've chosen for them based on the color and the family and all that good stuff. And you can say, what's the set length? Okay, so 7 inches. I should probably indicate that's inches. How many sets per pleat? Normally, if everything's, well, the easy mode, you just need 1 set per pleat. And for a box pleat, you divide it in thirds, and 1/3 is in front, and then 1/3 is underneath the left side, and 1/3 underneath the right side. And, then it goes to the next pleat, and so on. All right, we have an extra view here. What's going on with that? Pleat drawing. Now that's that one. Where's that black drawing coming from? Pleat drawing. Okay, it's got to be coming from pleat drawing somehow, right? Stack text inch pleat pleaty. Oh yeah, there's another pleaty down here. I think that was just kind of an example. We used it to prove some theories about how things are stretching or whatever. Okay. This view should update. Yeah, 1 pleat. All right, and let's see, pleat width. That's something you're normally kind of choosing. Oops, excuse me. Pleat width you typically are choosing, but you can also go the other way and say, how wide could I be? And the default, once you've got the set, you normally say, well, you can default this to 1. You need this measurement going in. Default, this is from the tartan, default to 1. And then from that, the set, the default is a box pleat with no gap is 1/3. So 7/3 written in 16ths of an inch plus or minus would give us the kind of ideal pleat width. And then the number of pleats, well, that's sort of determined by this and your pleat width. So if I've got 20 inches with 2-inch pleats, I need 10 pleats, and this should be 10. But if I say 3-inch pleat width, well, then this is going to be, 6 and change, which is a little weird because you don't normally have a part of a pleat. Okay, so that would kind of like not work. But if I change pleat width, number of pleats changes. If I change number of pleats, I think I should probably change pleat width. And similarly, gap. If I change the gap, that creates a default. I think that affects pleat width as well. So, all right. Well, I think we're ready to start creating an object, and it's going to need to know some stuff and then update some stuff. Now, I think we can default stuff in if it's not entered. All right. Now these have default values. They maybe should be optionals. Not sure how to handle that. But normally, yeah, if this pleats goes to a non-integer, then something's got to give. All right, but well, let's get started and then we'll figure out some cases. So, I'm going to put some. I think I'm going to call this calculator. And same thing for this. All right, let's make sure that all works. Because I'm going to introduce pleat or box pleat. Maybe it's pleat. Box is related enough to the others. All right, so we rename folders, and we did something in the views. Oh, we added the views. Okay. Guess I should have checked that in yesterday. All right. And now we'll add, well, let's start with our test. Let's add a group. Okay, please. New file. Swift test. Oh, let's call it Pleat. I'm going to call it calculator. I don't know. Pleat. No, I'm not going to get nice either. Okay, import good, bad actor, right. And then, whoops. I guess it's me using two space tabs that's throwing the world off, but it just seems easier. All right. So we have this object. Yeah, configurator. I guess engine crossed my mind. Or configuration. Configuration sounds a little weird. It's also something about constraints. Let's see what comes in and decide from that. Designer. Now you're talking. All right. Okay, so I guess we're gonna have to give this thing something. Now, I'm not sure the best way to manage this between the view. I mean, right now I have all this as state. That seems wrong, but I do need to get bindings, so I'm a little puzzled. But I feel like it's going to have these fields, and they're going to be public. But gosh, I don't know. Well, let's do a very basic test. Okay, PleatDesigner. Let's just make one. Designer. We'll look at the defaults. I'm going to start that empty. Okay, well, that's enough of a start. Let's create this class. I always forget I don't have something doing that for me. New group. And I forget my new. I should have a. I guess it's just file. PleatDesigner. Oh, he does need foundation. And I saw they're changing all the observable object stuff in the next version of SwiftUI. You're just going to have an add observable macro and not have to put your fields as published. Okay, let's do it kind of classically, I guess. So this should fail because I threw some text in for no good reason. Okay, I guess we could look at that. Right. Okay. Oh, whoops. Delete. Okay. And let's do some more. So that should be I guess that should be optional. I don't know. Sometimes you can mess yourself up making stuff optional so much. But no one can tell us this, so, I mean, they have to tell us that to get going. And same thing on the set. I'll go a little bigger steps now. Sets per pleat. And I'm not sure about the order on this, but this can default to 1. Whoops. Pleat width is a double, and that's going to have to be nil because you can't know until you get the set in. Pleat count and gap. Gap. I think I can default that to 0. Okay, so we need a hip-to-hip measure, sets per pleat, and all those are double question marks. Yeah, I should be duplicating this line. What did we call that? Sets per pleat. Pleat with pleat count gap. Okay, and I don't mind if this passes the first time. Actually, sets per, whoops, that's wrong over here. Sets per pleat, I guess we will make that not a double. And the other one was gap starts out 0. Now I'm sure we'll be adding other fields. I think we'll have to add one that's just like either errors or sort of a grade or something to say what our analysis is. But if we can get this going first. All right, now, how do I get this working with the view? Okay. I don't know. All right, so I guess we'll start with this as state object. Designer equals PleatDesigner. Okay. Now, what's wrong with that? Oh, yeah. Okay, so fill in remaining PleatDesigner fields, connect to Pleat view. Excuse me. All right, so is this going to work? I think maybe we should pause and hook it into our calculator just to see it, so we can really work with these values. I don't know if I can. Yeah, I'm not being able to type in here. They have these modes: live, selectable. Yeah, I should have been. If I can get a cursor, I can delete. Okay, but I don't think it'll. I don't know if it'll do everything. I'm not sure who should create this designer either, but that's another day's problem. Okay, so bound double. I wonder if okay, nothing's broken at this time. So let's shift gears and hook up our button. I know that's got some trickiness actually. Keypad. Okay, so this gets interpreted in calculator. Oops. Pleat. Right now it does nothing. Okay. Well, what do we want to do? Well, we want to show a different screen, and I don't know. I copied. There was a WWDC last year about the SwiftUI cookbook for navigation. So the old way you'd use navigation link, the new way you use navigation stack. And you can manipulate the stack. I guess you want a pushable stack. I kind of don't even want that. I just want to bounce between them. How do we do that? Oops. Well, path is maintained somewhere. Okay, and I don't know what. We're gonna have to look at navigation stack. Oh, I found this one too, showing and hiding views. This does it as a sheet, which we've done before. You can just toggle as presented. It might be the easy way. The nice thing with the other approach is like you don't have to assume it's a stack. You can just navigate wherever. A third approach would be make this give some tabs. Yeah. That base a layer on top is basically the sheet view kind of thing. Maybe that's okay. I think you can get it from this, which seems to be growing. But how does it go away? I guess that's the dismiss. Right. Well, let's try that. So I think what that's going to entail is our pleat method is going to have to set some value that says show pleats or something like that. All right, let's try that. And I'm also not sure if you can do that with objects, but we'll give it a go. Show pleat designer is false. Okay, and then pleat well, he's going to set that to true. Show design equals true. And that should have been designer. Okay, and then in the view, I guess that's content view, which is also getting a little unwieldy. Just like alert, we can have a sheet. Let's message that alert. Okay. Now, normally you have a state. In our case, I'm not as sure, but we have a calculator dot pleat. It's not suggesting it. Show pleat designer. Why might it not be accessible? It seems like it's given to us. It's not optional. It's not happy either. Generic parameter content. That's because this is screwed up. Insert. Oh yeah, I got to do content. Okay. Well, let's just put pleat view there for a minute and see what that does. And I'm disabled. It's finally time to get rid of disabled. Somebody should break. All right, disabled key contains key name. Okay. All right, I think we can get there. I don't think we can get back. Or maybe we can. Maybe we can tap the background. Nope. 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 Okay. We'll deal with that. I kind of don't care at this moment. Well, maybe I should. Let's see. We did it with our alert. All right, we got this, and then button. Okay. Yeah, we explicitly have a button on there. Where's thought we did this somewhere. Dismiss. Yeah. History view. Oh yeah. Okay. So we'll give this to our view. Pleat view. Environment dismiss, and then somewhere we have a button. All right. Yeah, that's probably moderately accurate. All right, and let's put that in, I guess, at the bottom of our stack. Which may make it a little crowded here. Okay, I'll give myself a later note to do is improve navigation to Pleat view. And what were we, Pleat view? Still thinking, oh. Okay, well, it's up there it is. Yeah, it's a little tight. A little tight. Okay. He chopped off a bunch of stuff. Okay, but we can get out and go back. All right. Let's just put this in a scroll view. Okay, Z. Well, that's a little too scrolly. Oh, I can get out. Okay, let's back this out. Since I don't have room on my little small phone I'm using here. I don't think any of the phones currently are that small, but okay. Oops, now I've messed up. Pleat view, take out that scroll view. I don't know why Xcode's going crazy on me. All right, Z. Pleats. Get rid of it. All right, that's enough to operate. Okay, so now these are all still the old computations. Oh, come on, Xcode. Okay, I think this is a moment to stop Xcode. I just restarted it before the session, so it should have. Usually it takes a while to lose its mind. I guess run. Whoops. All right, still there. Okay. Yeah, so let's try and move these forms. I guess we need to make them. Let's make these optional. Make sure it still works. Pleat width is probably optional. That's our field binding to double question mark. I think I can go the other way around. Sets per pleat defaults. Pleat width is that. Pleat count is double. Okay, that seems a little better. Cannot convert binding of double. Sets per pleat. Oh, I can't pass that, huh? Okay. So everything's double question mark. Why is Gap not complaining? Okay. Because he didn't think about it. All right. Okay, so now all these, that's Pleat view. Okay, so now we got to make them optional in our PleatDesigner. Make everything compatible. All right. Again, should be no problem. Okay. Right. Okay, now Pleat view. I guess I want to see if I can bind in these. So where's notes? Notes. Dollar notes. I think I want to be calculator.notes. Its design may not be available. Is not available. Cannot find dollar calculator. Let's see if we can find Swift UI text field using object fields. I don't know if that'll get us there or not. Well, he's a struct. Okay, well, that's different. Yeah. Not quite there. Well, that's a good question too, but not my current question. Maybe I should say using observable object. That's a new one. That sounds like it. Did I use add observed object? That would be a good thing. Oh, I use state object because he's holding it. Observed object variable's projected value provides a wrapper from which you can get the binding of subject for all of its properties. As what you can get direct binding value by $car is ready for sale. No. Car, $car, that is ready for sale. Yeah, $1 here would have. Well, that's what I'm trying and not getting anywhere with, but that's certainly what I expected. Optically can be observed to make that point. Sale button. Environment object. Yeah, wherever. Observed $car is ready for sale. I don't. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Oh, hey. Yeah. So, let me fix the immediate problem and. Let's preview this. I don't think I saw you here yesterday, so if I did, forgive me. It'll be a little review. All right. Well, what that Stack Overflow seemed to say was $calculator.notes should have worked. Oh, did I say calculator? I should have said designer. Okay, so we set up this, I think, a couple days ago, just the basic look and feel of these text fields that we can, we're going to work on changing the values of. And then yesterday, we basically spent the whole day trying to draw this, which doesn't seem like that much now, but we did get it working. This is the view of the side view of a pleat. So it's a pleat is kind of folded material, and in this case, a box pleat, because this kind of makes a box with stuff inside. And the idea is you're going to measure somebody, the back hip to hip. The set is the width of the pattern, and then it should tell you how wide your pleats can be. Okay. And we're working on switching from these things being in state objects, in state, which is values this struct holds, the view holds, to being values in our new PleatDesigner. Okay, so let's see if I did that wrong. Yes, I did. Okay, cannot find PleatDesigner in scope. Did I put it in the wrong? Oh, because it's called designer. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, that would definitely be an interesting little thing to say. I don't want these changing. But I think given a set, I'm not sure you can control it. Well, no, that's not true. You could say I'm going to have a 1/2 inch gap. What would that do to my pleat width? Yeah, let me just capture that idea. All right, and back. Okay, so that seems happy. Let's see if that retains its value and stuff. And I don't know, in the end, we'll have several possibilities: calculator, PleatDesigner. Maybe this should be its own tab. Okay, so now I want to type in this. Here's a note. Okay. Can't, that's a simulator message. Okay. So yeah, it seems like I've dealt with it. Okay, well, that's a good sign. Can we hook these up the rest of the way? Okay. Yeah, I'm anticipating there's a step before you do the pleat stuff where you it's apron slash pleat. So you're basically deciding, I measure around somebody, how much do I want to show in the front of the kilt and how much do I save for the pleats. And like I mentioned yesterday, a big beer belly guy is going to need a lot of fabric in front just to get around that belly. Because your top of your kilt is at usually your navel or sometimes even an inch or two higher. You're going to be in the maximum place of width for that person. Unfortunately, too close to big beer belly guy myself, even though I don't drink beer. All right, so let's get this up. All right, so now, yeah, that's a price for them. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to know how someone's going to use it, but it may be that the memory buttons are just not what we need, and maybe that's I don't know. Maybe those can be sacrificed for these things and not have to pay for tabs. But I don't know. The tabs are nice too because from I don't know the right word, but a revealability or making it disclose the options, very clearly. If it was calculator, apron pleat, box pleat, knife pleat, something. There might be 4 or 5 of these things that you'd want to do. All right. So I think this I can set up. This is 4. Well, it's really 1, but let's give it a 6-inch and a 20. All right. And now at this point, like pleat's width should be computable because you divide the set times the pleats divided by 3. Yeah. So even here, even without this, I don't know if I can delete it. Yeah. I guess if it's optional, I can, right? Even with just this information, yeah, hip to hip doesn't affect the pleat width. That's really a function of these, which maybe means number of pleats maybe belongs a little higher. Yeah, let me swap those two. Number of pleats. Okay, try again. That key wants a different color too, because it's just kind of a totally different function. Okay, so set and sets per pleat. Yeah, these are kind of the inputs. I mean, they're the more or less constants, although you might play with this. And number of pleats comes out of hip to hip and pleat width. I don't know, maybe it goes on the bottom. Hard to quite name the flow of things here. Okay, so it is a function of this and this. I guess the gap doesn't matter. All right. So we've hooked up all designer fields and rearranged them slightly. Okay, and so I think what that says is these are no longer being used. Okay, everything built. All right. Refactor, delete unused fields. All right. So now I think we're ready to focus on our designer for real. Okay. So, I guess as you set things, other things should clear and set. Right? So, setting hip measure. All right. So, do this. Now, I'm going to have to keep these up. Okay, so I set the hip measure. That does not affect these. It doesn't affect this. It doesn't affect that. It only it only potentially affects number of pleats. And it can't affect that. I guess it can only affect that if pleat width is defined. Because, yeah, so number of pleats, it's hard to say what things are. Maybe I should be going the other way. But number of pleats is pleat width. Well, it's this distance divided by pleat width. Okay, so maybe let's set that first. Hip distance divided by pleat width. All right, so I think what that's implying is designer dot hip to hip equals 20 dot pleat width equals 2, and then pleat count should be 10. Okay, 20 divided by 2. All right, this is going to fail. Right. I think it'll work if it is 10. Let me just make sure of that. Oops. Okay, yeah, it'll take that into account. All right. Well, I think this is right. So when you ask for the pleat count, that is a pure function of these two fields. All right. So let's see, pleat count. Well, let's just say it's pleat. It's hip to hip divided by pleat width. Okay, now, yeah, oh no. Can we ever set pleat count? No. I think he's not. He's an output, and these don't take it into account. We'll have to fix that. Okay, so let's run that. Cannot assign to property field. Is there a way to make it read only? There's a lot of stuff here. I don't want hidden. I don't know if I can pass like dot constant. Okay, so it's no longer this. That's gonna not work, right? It's gotta be a failed to produce diagnostic. Oh, I got a decimal point there. Okay, I think it's still screwed up because it's not a binding. This is so handy. Oh, I can just use this, right? Okay. Let's do that. Label content. This is text. Designer.pleat count. Label is pleats. Call to initializer. Literal. Trailing closure passed to farm style configuration that does not accept a closure. Let me duplicate this one. Seems right to me. Golly. Labeled content with a thing and then a label. I mean, labeled content should take a view builder view kind of thing. Yeah. View builder content contains the value of the resulting labeled element. Contains the purpose. When you implement a custom view, right, that's all kind of, okay, what am I doing? Change this and pleats. Presumably that's not a problem. No, you have to give it the set. Text attribute string input. Yeah, because the tartan's sort of a given I don't think I've ever heard of anybody that would like have a particular thing in mind and say, okay, let's go find a tartan with a 6 3/8 set. Okay. Designer. Oh, golly. How about designer.pleat count dot. I'm just weirdly blind to things sometimes. Okay. Oh, I'm still not. No, that calls to a bad method. Well, designer.pleat count is a double. No exact match. Oh, verbatim. I don't know if that'll do it, but. Can I do that? No. I don't want to worry about it right now. Oh, still messed up. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say this should blow up right away because haven't got the cases where the right information is not present. Okay, so let's say test setting. No, this is not. This is really get pleat count when predecessor values present. Okay, and this is get pleat count fails when hip measure is missing. Hip measure might be a better name anyway. All right, and this. Just be explicit. Okay, I think this test will fail because we did exclamation points. Let's put the other one into, we can risk getting both wrong. I guess they're gonna go blow up, so it's kind of arbitrary, but all right. If hip to hip measure is nil or oh, that's a nice idea. Yeah, let's not lose that one either. Mark fields, missing fields. Okay. I left off here. If this is nil, I guess, yeah. Okay, and then this missing return. Yep. Okay, I think all three tests should pass now. Good. All right, so calculate pleat width. Okay, and that one, that I think is purely output. Right, that's going to look ugly. Yeah, it's nil. This is 20. This is 4. Right. I don't know if I can make this work. If designer.pleat count is nil, I guess that's okay. I don't think that built, right? Because it's already converted it into a string. Yeah, but it even if it's read only, I don't know. Doesn't it want a binding? Maybe that's, let's see, field. Right. I mean, it wants a binding to a changeable field, and it's not a two-way publishing field. You can't set it. So verbatim just says this is raw text coming back. Don't try and look it up. Normally, text will look up names or will look up the text in key your translation stuff. Verbatim says don't do that. And since we're just getting a straight value, literal value back, there's no key lookup or internationalization or localization, whatever you want to say. All right. See, the problem is if I give it a default in here, I can do that. I can give it 0. But that's not good either. I don't know if I can. If it's 0, that's not good. Yeah, we don't want it editable. I mean, can I put that on here? Is editable? No. Editable. What's the marker for that? It's not hidden. Maybe he doesn't allow it, even though I bet text field does. Actually, I don't know how to do that on either. Well, I can let that be for now. Well, no, what I can do. Let's make it format optional of didSetter.pleat count. Okay. Let's define this little function. If value equals nil, return empty string. Otherwise, return. Oh, disable true. I didn't. Okay, is that on labeled content too? Oh, well, I think we still have to format it. I don't think it's an issue because it's not, it really is a pure output at this point. I'm hoping I like the look after all that. Seems like it should look like the rest, so I'm hopeful. Oh, interesting. I don't really want that, do I? It's because I return an empty string. I mean, maybe TBD for now anyway. Or a question mark. That's acceptable. All right, let's get the next one in. Actually, let's take a break. I think we've been going for a while, but I think we can work from these. That's the only output one, so that's a pure function. The pleat width is a function of set and sets per pleat. So let's try that when we get back. Yeah, question mark. All right. Let's see. So, yeah, disable change the color. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I like that all right too. Yeah, that's even better. Doesn't need internationalizing. All right, see you in 3 or 4 minutes. Welcome back. All right, let's keep going. All right, so you've calculated number of pleats. If what else changes? If the hip to hip changes, doesn't affect sets per pleat, pleat width or gap. Okay, so that's the only one. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely something. Yeah, I think we'll clean up the look of it at the end of this. Right, because I mean, well, yeah, it definitely should look different for a pure output. Um, I might put boxes around the ones you enter or something. I don't know. We'll see. They might want better controls too. I could see this being little steppers or something. Okay. So I think hip to hip only affects number of pleats. That makes it easy. Set. Now here's where I'm. Maybe I got to do the diagram. Let's see if that works. We'll just add a blank. All right. So hip to hip affects hip to hip and pleat width affect number of pleats. I'll keep this horrid gray. Oh no, I won't. And maybe 48. Hip to hip and pleat width and pleat count. Okay. And these, well, this is going to be a change in the one affects the other. All right, so hip to hip affects number of pleats. Set, well, I guess set and sets per pleat, you set independently, and they both affect pleat width and gap. Set. Okay. I feel like there's something circular going on. Maybe there is and maybe there isn't. But if there is, we're going to have some trouble. Let's move this down here. Now, pleat width. Yeah, when we get to gap, that's where it gets interesting. Pleat width changes gap. Okay, but these two do as well. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that the right number? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So can changing gap affect pleat width? That's probably the question. And I think the answer should be yes. So that's going to be a problem. Well, okay, setting this. It's so I'm trying to think in terms of the updates. If I set hip to hip, I got to set pleat count. But if I set pleat width, I got to set gap and pleat count. But I don't want to set. So if I use the simple like didSet kind of thing, I'm going to get burned because pleat width will set gap and gap will set pleat width, and then pleat width will set gap and all that, you know. It would be nice if I could just say set affects pleat width and let pleat width notify gap and notify pleat count. Can I do that? Also, I don't know if I can get to the underlying values. Let's see. Can I say hip is published? But if it's hip, it's double. Gosh, yeah. So I don't know if this. I was going to use didSet originally, but when does didSet update other fields or something like that? Will set, didSet. Now, sometimes you can, you know, check if it's changed. If it's not changing, there's no reason to reset it. Okay. Okay, so if you set, yeah, let's go. If you set the set, pleat width should fall out. Pleat width and gap should fall out. But setting either one should set the other. Okay. If you set sets per pleat, that should all fall out. There's so many. It's like I don't want to have the same computation all over the place. Hip to hip should. Yeah, maybe that's the way to do it. If I manually change the pleat width, I just update the gap. Is that going to be this true for each field? Okay. Well, okay. If this has didSet, it will say, let's leave out this bottom line. If you change the set, it should change the pleat width. Pleat width had the didSet that says if you change pleat width, you should change gap and pleat count. That seems okay. Change will set. Yeah, so maybe it's like you're saying a track. Let's say this is we set the set. It says you need to update pleat width. pleat width says on will set, maybe? It says, hey, I'm manually updating pleat width. And then on didSet, it says if you're manually updating it, no, I don't know. I guess we'll go through the circles and see what happens. Okay, but I think we know that set has to do a pleat width calculation. Okay, so oops. All right, what's the test? Pleat width gap and pleat count. We defaulted sets per pleat. Okay. Yeah, when gap is changed, it triggers one calculation. When width is changed, it triggers another. Yeah. Okay, so let's say set equals 6. Then I expect what do I expect? Well, I expect designer dot pleat width to now be 2. We're defaulting sets per pleat to 1, so 6 divided by 3 is 2. We expect gap to be 0. And we expect pleat count. Well, we kind of don't care, but I guess we've got to set. We've got to set hip to hip measure. A very skinny person. Okay. So if there's if there's 4 inches, well, let's do 8. 8 inches, pleat count should be 4. Now gap is a function of those two. Okay, I think that's the right answer. So this divides by 3 to get 2. That leaves 0 for this. And pleat count is 4 because they're 2-inch pleats and an 8-inch waist, or 8-inch half waist, or half hips. And this fails. Let's hope. Now, how we get it to set to work? Okay. Gap 0, that would default it, so that's fine. All right. So when you set the set, didSet. Okay. If somebody becomes nil, all right, so if set becomes nil, then pleat width becomes nil for sure. Pleat width equals nil. Maybe gap should equal nil instead of 0 to start with. Let's try that. That'll break another test, but okay. Pleat width equals nil. Well, that's enough to drive calculation of gap. Wait, I'm saying okay, I guess this is if new value. Isn't it new value? Old value? No. Okay, if the value is nil, then